Welcome to the course presentation on Libertarianism and Deontology. I am Dr. Jason White, a social scientist and instructor for this course. Libertarianism is concerned with life, liberty, and property rights, whereas deontology is concerned with the motive and duties related to the act. Sometimes libertarianism is commingled with deontology because of their similarities. However, it simply doesn't make sense. Would a deontological libertarian support the right of someone pleading the fifth when being questioned by the police? Libertarians advocate for minimal government outside of police and military forces. The purpose of police and military forces is to protect against acts of aggression that may impede on a person's right to freedom or property. The philosophy supports taxation to pay for police and military forces. Libertarians also support free and open markets. There is an active political party in the United States that identifies themselves as the Libertarian Party. Though it was established in the 70s, it has lost support, mostly because its members exercise their freedoms in a way that loses party members. Just because you have the right to do something or even act foolish, does not mean you should. As an example, stripping down to your underwear at televised Libertarian Party rally, because you can, might not resonate with potential or current party members, which really has happened. Criticisms of libertarianism are that taxation is ownership, or partial ownership, of an individual. If you are required by law to share the fruits of your labor, are you really free? Interestingly, the U.S. Constitution, when initially developed, was designed to look out for the welfare of free people and their property. This was later interpreted to mean that the welfare of all people in the U.S. was a governmental interest, which was most evident in the 1930s when Franklin D. Roosevelt aggressively implemented a multitude of welfare policies, such as the New Deal and Social Security pension and disability payments. The reference to these policies was the U.S. Constitution. Also, very interestingly, libertarians support open free markets, which seems invalidated by the passing of laws to tax and control imports, which work to increase the value of resources in the United States, such as gold, for example. When I was in Kurdistan, I noticed that gold was not only cheap, it was purer than what could be purchased in the United States. Immanuel Kant was a German philosopher, who brought forward the ethics framework known as deontology. He was heavily influenced by David Hume. Though he agreed with Hume on many things, he did not agree on everything. Deontology is concerned with motives and absolutes. I like to remember this as the rule is the rule philosophy. Immanuel Kant built on the ideas of Hume, though many aspects vary. Hume believed that morality was not something that could be specifically defined, and instead looked at situations of utility. Kant, on the other hand, looked at supreme rules a priori, meaning that he believed some rules or laws were applicable, no matter the situation, such as thou shalt not kill applying to everyone, regardless of situation, and even if consent is given. The only exception to killing is if it is in self-defense. Kant might argue that allowing yourself to be murdered, by not fighting in self-defense, would be to consent to your murder. Hume might argue that situations involving killing are dependent on the consequences of that action. In essence, Hume was a consequentialist, and Kant was a categoricalist. Consequential being a look at consequences of an act to define morality, whereas categorical being a look at duties and rights as they relate to the act to define morality. The categorical imperative is the set of irrefutable duties that apply to everyone, relative to a specific act, such as thou shalt not kill. Other examples include, thou shalt not steal, and tell no lies. Immanuel Kant also believed that human beings ought to be respected, and should not be used as a means to an end. For example, in the trolley car scenario, you cannot sacrifice one individual to save five, because that individual sacrificed would be used as a means to an end. This is a very similar argument to the Queen versus Dudley and Stevens. Killing the cabin boy, who was going to die anyway, to feed the rest of the crew stranded at sea, is morally wrong because the cabin boy was being used as a means to an end. Even if consent was given, to be sacrificed or eaten, it does not give one the right to use that individual as a means to an end. Some of the criticisms of deontology are that it places absolute trust in authorities. Just because a rule is a rule or a law is a law, does not mean it is just, which of course we will see when we look at the actions of Martin Luther King in subsequent materials and presentations. It also has absolute moral principles such as thou shalt not kill or tell no lies. It does not address exceptions to the rule very well. To summarize, libertarianism is a philosophy that is about right to life, liberty, and property. Deontology focuses on the duty to the rule, as opposed to utilitarianism, which focuses on the consequence of an action. That concludes this presentation. Thank you for watching.